All right, let's dive into some career advice that's, well, let's just say it's not your typical polish your resume stuff.
Yeah, definitely not your typical advice.
We're tackling Stephen M. Pollan and Mark Levine's book, Fire Your Boss.
Hmm.
And just the title alone, I think, kind of throws people off.
Right.
But trust me, there's some serious wisdom hidden in there, even if it sounds a little extreme at first. Our mission today is to extract the most powerful mindset shifts and actionable strategies
Yeah.
from this book to help you take control of your work life.
That's the goal.
So get ready to hear about things like job fishing instead of job hunting
Interesting.
and why focusing on your company's success might actually be holding you back.
It's a real mind shift.
So, first things first, what's the big idea behind this whole fire your boss concept?
Well, it's not about literally storming out of your office in a blaze of glory.
Thank goodness.
It's more of a mental shift. It's about realizing you have the power to define your ideal job, figure out what you're really worth, and explore new paths that fit your skills.
It's like taking back control of the narrative, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You've been handing over the pen to someone else to write your work-life story. Fire Your Boss is all about reclaiming that pen and becoming the author of your own narrative.
Okay, I love that analogy. But how do we actually go about firing our bosses in this metaphorical sense? What are the concrete steps?
The book lays out a framework, and it starts with a pretty bold statement. Fire your boss and hire yourself. It's not just a catchy phrase, it's a call to action.
Okay, so walk us through it. Where do we even begin?
Start by writing your own job description. Don't just accept what's handed to you.
So, like, what would our dream job look like?
Exactly. What are the key responsibilities you'd love to have? What skills would you get to use? What kind of impact would you be making?
I like that. It's about getting crystal clear on what we want, not what someone else thinks we should want.
Right. And then comes the self-assessment part. Do a performance review on yourself. Honestly assess your strengths, your weaknesses, where you need to grow, and do some research on what you're actually worth in the market.
That's where things get real, right? Because sometimes our self-perception is way off from what the market is actually willing to pay.
Absolutely. You might be underselling yourself, or maybe you're aiming too high without the experience to back it up.
Okay, so we've defined our dream job, we've taken stock of our skills and our market value. What's next?
Now comes the fun part. Brainstorming alternative paths. This is where you let your imagination run wild. Think about how your skills could translate to different roles, different industries, maybe even a whole new career you hadn't considered before.
I love that. It's like permission to break free from the box we've put ourselves in.
It is. It's about opening up possibilities that you might not have even realized existed. And then, to pull it all together, you create a personal work plan.
So this isn't like a rigid 5-year plan, right?
No, more like a flexible guide. It outlines your goals, your timeline, the steps you need to take,
Yeah.
but it puts you in the driver's seat. You're charting your own course.
Okay, so this whole fire your boss and hire yourself idea is about a fundamental mindset shift.
It is.
It's about taking ownership, setting clear goals, and creating a plan to get there. It's about recognizing that we have the power to shape our own career destiny.
And that leads to another big idea from the book. Kill your career, get a job, and a life.
Whoa, okay, that's a strong statement. Doesn't that kind of contradict everything we just talked about?
Not really. It's not about giving up on ambition altogether, but about reframing how we view work and its place in our lives.
Okay, I'm listening, but cautiously. Explain this one to me.
Think about it. How many people are out there working crazy hours, sacrificing their personal lives, all in pursuit of this dream career that's supposed to be so fulfilling?
Yeah, I've seen that.
And yet, so many of them end up feeling empty, burnt out, like it wasn't worth the cost.
I've definitely felt that myself at times. We get so caught up in the pursuit of success, as defined by, society or whatever, that we lose sight of what actually matters.
That's exactly what the book is getting at. This idea that the relentless pursuit of a meaningful career can backfire.
So what's the alternative? Are we supposed to just settle for mediocrity and give up on our dreams?
Not at all. It's about shifting our perspective,
Okay.
viewing work primarily as a way to generate income,
Okay.
and detaching our sense of worth and purpose from our job titles.
I'm starting to see where you're going with this. It's not about settling, it's about prioritizing.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that work is a means to an end, not the end itself.
Okay, I'm with you so far. But how do we make that shift practically? How do we balance the need to earn a living with, actually living a fulfilling life?
The book gives some great examples of people who have successfully killed their careers and ended up happier because of it. There's this story about a high-powered accountant who was constantly on the road, missing his kids' lives.
Oh man, that's tough.
Yeah. He finally realized his successful career was costing him something way more valuable.
Family time.
Exactly.
So what did he do?
He quit that high-paying, demanding job, took a lower-paying position that allowed him to be home more, and guess what?
He was happier.
Way happier. He even rediscovered his passion for coaching youth sports.
Wow. That's a powerful example of how sometimes taking a step back in our careers can actually lead to a more fulfilling life overall.
Right. And the book is full of stories like that, like the graphic designer who realized his true passion was his personal art, not his client work.
So by shifting his view of his job, it was just a means to fund his real passion.
He unlocked his creativity and found way more joy than his career ever gave him.
So kill your career, get a job. It's about aligning your work with your values, your priorities.
That's it.
Realizing a job can provide income and stability so you can actually pursue the things that light you up outside of work.
Right. It's not the be-all and end-all.
This idea is really resonating with me. It takes the pressure off in a way, but it also makes me wonder, if we're not defining ourselves by our careers, how do we navigate the workplace, How do we succeed without getting sucked into that whole rat race mentality?
And that, my friend, is where the book's next big idea comes in. There's no I in Job, but there's your boss.
Yeah. Ooh, okay. That title sounds a little ominous, like we're about to delve into some Machiavellian office politics.
Huh? Not quite.
Huh?
It's not about being manipulative or anything like that. It's about understanding the dynamics at play and recognizing that your boss's success is actually linked to your own.
Wait, hold on. So we're killing our careers, focusing on our personal lives, and now we're supposed to prioritize our boss's success. How does that fit into this whole fire your boss philosophy?
I know it sounds counterintuitive, but hear me out. The book argues that just working hard for the company's benefit doesn't guarantee your success.
Interesting.
Often it's the people who focus on making their bosses look good who get ahead.
So it's not about sucking up, it's about being strategic and understanding how to play the game.
Exactly. Recognize that your boss holds the key to your advancement, your raises, all of that. By aligning your efforts with their needs and goals, you're essentially leveraging their success to fuel your own.
Okay, I'm starting to see the logic here. It's about working smart, not just working hard in a vacuum. But how do we actually DO that? How do we become experts in our boss's needs and wants without, compromising our own values or turning into someone we're not? So we've established that understanding our boss's needs is key.
Yeah.
But honestly, some bosses are a mystery wrapped in an enigma.
Right.
How do we even begin to crack the code and figure out what makes them tick?
Well, it starts with observation, definitely, and a good dose of empathy. Remember, your boss is a person too,
Of course.
with their own motivations and insecurities and aspirations.
Right. They're not just some corporate robot programmed to make our lives miserable.
Exactly. They have their own pressures and challenges.
Yeah.
So pay attention to their communication style, their priorities, how they react in different situations. What kind of feedback do they respond well to? What are their pet peeves? What makes them feel valued?
So it's like being a detective, gathering clues, and building a profile of their personality and work style.
Exactly. And fire your boss actually gives you a framework for understanding different boss personalities. Remember we talked about those types earlier, the buddy, the loner, the stickler.
Oh, yeah. I was hoping we'd come back to those.
Each one needs a slightly different approach. For instance, the buddy thrives on connection, personal interaction.
Yeah.
They value loyalty, like to be kept in the loop.
So with a buddy boss, it's all about building rapport, keeping them informed, making them feel like you're on their team.
Exactly. Now compare that to the loner.
Okay.
They prefer to be left alone to just get their work done.
Yeah.
They value efficiency, results. They probably don't appreciate constant check-ins or attempts to socialize.
So with a loner, it's best to be direct, concise, and respect their need for space.
You got it. And then there's the stickler. All about the rules, the procedures, accuracy, attention to detail are huge for them, and they'll definitely point out any mistakes.
So with a stickler, you got to be organized, follow the rules to a T, and triple check your work before you show it to them.
You got it. The book goes into a lot more detail about each of these types, like what motivates them and how to manage them effectively.
This is super helpful. I'm already starting to see how understanding these different personalities can change how we interact with our bosses. But even if we get really good at boss management, there's still this feeling of being trapped in a system that's not always in our best interest.
And that is where the book's next bold piece of advice comes in. Go job fishing.
Okay, job fishing. That phrase still makes me a little uneasy, I have to admit.
I get it. It sounds kind of sneaky, like we're doing something behind our employer's back.
Yeah,
But it's really not about that at all.
okay.
It's about being proactive. Think of it like tending a garden, right? You don't just plant a seed and then just wait for it to grow magically.
Right.
You got to nurture it, water it, look for ways to help it thrive.
So we're applying that same gardening approach to our careers. We're not just passively waiting for opportunities, we're actively cultivating them.
Exactly. Job fishing is all about constantly exploring new possibilities, growing your network, staying in the know about industry trends.
Okay, so we're building a pipeline of opportunities, so to speak. So we're never caught off guard or forced to settle. I can see the strategic value in that.
Right.
But realistically, how do we find the time and energy to be constantly job fishing? We've got lives, you know?
Well, remember that concept of killing your career and seeing work as a means to an end?
Yeah.
That frees up mental and emotional space to focus on what's truly important, and that includes your career growth.
Okay, that makes sense. We're working smarter, not harder, and using our time more strategically. But what does that look like in practice?
Start small. Set aside 30 minutes a day to check out job boards, update your LinkedIn, maybe reach out to someone in your network. Make it a habit to attend industry events, connect with people at conferences.
So it's about building those connections over time and staying active in the industry.
Exactly. And never underestimate the power of informational interviews.
Oh, good point.
Reach out to people you admire. Just ask for a few minutes of their time to learn about their career path, get some insights.
Those are great for expanding your network and learning about opportunities without the pressure of, like, a formal interview.
Exactly. And the cool thing about job fishing is that it can benefit you, even if you don't end up taking a new job. Remember we talked about that banquet manager?
Yeah.
Turned down a fantastic offer, ended up using it to get a raise and a promotion where he was.
Right. Job fishing gives you leverage.
Exactly. It tells your current employer you're valuable, you're in demand. Even if you're perfectly happy where you are, job fishing helps you stay informed about your market value, make sure you're being paid what you're worth.
Okay, you've convinced me. Job fishing is about being smart, strategic, and proactive, not sneaky or disloyal. But let's be real. Even with all the job fishing and boss management in the world, landing those amazing opportunities still comes down to what you know, right? The skills and experience that make you stand out.
That's where Chapter 7 of Fire Your Boss comes in. It's the money. This chapter tackles salary negotiations and career advancement.
Okay, now we're getting to the nitty-gritty. I think a lot of people, myself included, feel super uncomfortable talking about money, especially when it comes to asking for what we're worth.
It's definitely a sensitive topic,
Yeah.
but we have to address it head on if we want to achieve our financial goals and create a work life that actually serves us.
So give us the goods. What's the fire your boss approach to navigating the money conversation?
So let's talk money. It's like this taboo topic,
Yeah.
but Fire Your Boss says it's crucial for our career strategy to actually embrace those conversations
For sure.
about what we're worth.
Yeah.
The book says we should shift from being afraid to talk about money to being like confident and assertive in asking for what we deserve,
Exactly.
which is easier said than done.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think a lot of us, especially when we're starting out in our careers,
Yeah.
we worry about coming across as like greedy or demanding
Right.
if we actually speak up about it. Of course, that's a common fear. But remember, negotiating your salary isn't about being greedy. It's about knowing your value and making sure you're being compensated fairly for your skills and what you bring to the table.
So how do we actually get over that fear and get more comfortable talking about money?
Well, first off, understand that your salary is just one piece of the whole picture.
Oh, yeah.
Think about the total compensation package, benefits, bonuses, stock options, even things like flexible work arrangements,
Yeah.
professional development opportunities.
It's about looking at the whole package, not just getting fixated on that number on your paycheck.
Exactly. Then do your research,
Yeah.
know your market value, what are the typical salary ranges for your role, your industry, and use that info when you negotiate.
There's some great websites that can help with that research
Oh,
as well.
tons. Sites like Glassdoor, Salary.com, Those are great for seeing salary trends, industry benchmarks.
Yeah.
And don't be shy about reaching out to people in your network who are in similar roles.
Okay, so we've done our research, we know our worth. How do we actually approach that negotiation? Any tips for those of us who, like, break out in a cold sweat just thinking about asking for a raise?
Honestly,
Yeah.
practice. Role play with a friend, a mentor. Get comfortable saying those words out loud.
Okay.
Rehearse your talking points so when the time comes, you can clearly articulate your value. Remember, negotiation isn't about confrontation.
Right.
It's a collaborative conversation.
Okay.
You're working together to reach an agreement that works for both sides.
So approach it with confidence, clarity, and a willingness to compromise.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to walk away if the offer just isn't good enough. Remember all that job fishing we talked about?
Yeah.
That gives you options.
Right.
You don't have to settle for something that doesn't feel right.
Okay, I'm feeling more empowered already. But this advice about negotiating seems geared towards, like, getting a new job.
Mm-hmm.
What about those of us who are already employed? How do we apply these principles to our current situation?
That's where Chapter 8 comes in. Blow. This chapter is all about strategically planning your exit, even if you're not actively looking to leave your current job.
Blow still sounds a bit dramatic, but I get the strategy part. Like, having an escape hatch in case things go sour.
It's more than just an escape hatch. It's about taking charge of your career trajectory and not being caught off guard when things change. Because let's face it, the job market's always in flux.
Yeah.
Companies restructure, things happen.
Right. Mergers, acquisitions, layoffs, who knows?
Exactly. And having an exit plan gives you peace of mind, knowing you're prepared no matter what.
Okay, I'm on board with the idea, but how do we create an exit plan? It all sounds a bit overwhelming.
It doesn't have to be complicated. Start with your blow date.
Hmm.
Now, this might not be the day you actually leave, but it's a target date to work towards.
So it's like setting a deadline for yourself, but a flexible one,
Yeah.
depending on how things play out.
Exactly. Once you have that date in mind,
Yeah.
work backward. Figure out what steps you need to take to reach your goals.
Okay, let's say our goal is to move into a management position. What would an exit plan for that look like?
Well, you might start by taking on more responsibility in your current role, look for leadership training, or start networking with people in management. The idea is to position yourself for that next step, even if it's years down the road.
So it's about being intentional, strategic, not just waiting around hoping things will fall into place.
Exactly.
This is fantastic advice for those who are employed, but what about people who are unemployed right now? Anything in Fire Your Boss for them?
Definitely. Chapter 10, Firing Your Boss When You're Unemployed, talks all about staying positive and taking proactive steps to find your next opportunity.
It's easy to get discouraged when you're in that situation,
Yeah.
feeling overwhelmed. How does the book address that?
It tells you to reframe your thinking. Instead of seeing unemployment as a failure,
Yeah.
see it as a chance for growth, exploration. Use that time to really think about your career goals, develop new skills, maybe explore a new industry.
Turn that negative into a positive.
Exactly. And remember, job fixing is even more important when you're unemployed. Cast a wide net. Be open to different possibilities. Don't be afraid to try something new.
Right. It's not the time to be super picky. Any job that can give you some income can be a stepping stone to
yes.
something better down the line.
For sure. And don't forget about your network.
Yeah.
Reach out to people. Let them know you're looking. Ask for their support, their advice.
Great advice. Okay, what about those just starting their careers, fresh out of school? Does Fire Your Boss have any words of wisdom for them?
Absolutely. Chapter 11, Firing Your First Boss,
Mhm.
focuses on setting boundaries early on, advocating for yourself, navigating that whole work world, which can be confusing when you're new to it.
It's tough because you want to make a good impression. You don't want to rock the boat.
Right. But that's why the book emphasizes the importance of that mental shift, of firing your boss, even in your first job.
Okay.
It's about understanding that you bring value, you deserve respect, even if you're the lowest person on the totem pole.
So it's about finding that balance between being a team player and also standing up for yourself when you need to.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Make sure you understand what's expected of you. Speak up if you have concerns, need clarification.
Yeah.
Good communication is so key.
Right. Over-communicating is way better than making assumptions and regretting it later.
Totally agree. And one last piece of advice for new grads. Find a mentor. Build relationships with people you admire who can offer guidance and support as you navigate your career.
Fantastic advice. Well, this has been a truly insightful deep dive into Fire Your Boss. The book gives us a powerful framework for taking control of our work lives, creating careers that reflect our values, and help us reach our goals.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
The key takeaway: you are the CEO of your own career.
That's it.
Take charge, be strategic, and don't be afraid to fire those bosses. Metaphorically, of course. That's it for our deep dive today, folks. We hope you're leaving feeling inspired, empowered, and ready to create a work life that truly works for you.